Hello, and welcome. Basically, we're going to be doing quotes with Claudia. If you're coming from my TikTok, you should know what that is. If you're not, it's just where I read you quotes from a book that I've been reading and react to them. They're usually quotes that I found funny or ridiculous or like very cringy, so we have some stuff to talk about. This is the Twilight series version of Quotes with Claudia. So yeah, without further ado, I say we get into it. So the first one I have, I didn't actually read Twilight. I read Midnight Sun instead. The writing is slightly better. And if you're a Twilight fan out there, I'm sorry. I do not at all mean to offend you. This was just my personal opinion as I was reading this book. So the first one we have, and if you're coming from TikTok, you've probably already seen this one, but it's in Midnight Sun around the time when Edward saves Bella from the truck, like the van that hits her. And he goes, "A word I'd never said before slid between," oh, my bad. It's "a word I'd never said before in the presence of a lady slid between my clenched teeth." What? Like, what? Like, this is more of a comment on Stephanie Meyer, this quote is, but it's just like, you couldn't even say, "Oh, I cursed up a storm." Like that, even that's cringy, but like, it was the description of it that just, that's all I have for that one. It's the only reaction I can give you. Oh, this next one is the word cad, which Stephanie Meyer uses in Midnight Sun. The definition of cad is a man who behaves dishonorably, especially toward a woman. This is a dated and informal word, and I just had to have a laugh at the fact that this was thrown in. I felt like a cad just saying the words. What? Edward is the most ridiculous male supposed love interest I have ever seen in my entire life. He's so over dramatic. It's ridiculous. He felt like a cat. What? Oh, this one was so cringy. It was when they first went to the meadow from Edward's perspective, and they both have such down views on themselves that it's awful to read about, just because they both think the worst of themselves, and it's just like the absolute worst. Like, Edward thinks he's disgusting and doesn't have a soul and is going to, well, the underworld. So we're not cursing on here, unfortunately. And I don't even know if that counts as a curse word, but that's an aside that we can have at another time. Anyway, it's just, I was so frustrated the entire time I read these books, but it did give me good content. This next one is about the meadow. I think I mentioned that already. And it was the worst that it was worse than I'd been braced for. Her mouth actually fell open, like a character in the kind of sitcom that had a laugh track. She did a quick double take, her eyes running up and down my bare skin. This one, I just, you know, because it's just like, you like, everybody in the world finds you attractive, Edward. Like, you don't think she's also gonna find you attractive? No. That's ridiculous to think that. He thinks she finds him repulsive. What? I have all of these screenshotted in my photos. That is why we get pictures like these. There are more of them. Oh, this one was just about the way he described his feeling. It was also in the meadow, but he like touches her and like grabs her hand and is like, the electric pulse that only she could awaken started to thrum through my body. What? That is my reaction to literally everything I've just realized. I just go, what? This one I just went, oh, when I was reading it. Now that I'm reading it again, it's just funny. Like, there are so many better ways to describe it. Like, even like, well, Stephanie Meyer didn't want to talk about like desire and lust and all of those things, but like, describe it as like a fire or butterflies or an electric pulse, though. That's the best you could come up with. There's so many other ways. I found one. This is right after they kiss, or right before they kiss for the first time. No, it's right after. And Edward's in his inner monologue that you're reading in Midnight Sun. He goes, "What strange alchemy this was, that the touch of lips should be so much more than the touch of fingers." Literally speechless here. Strange alchemy. I have nothing. This is a good one. This is one that just made me go, ugh. Because I have a varied taste in books. I read some fantasy. I don't usually read things like this. These were because I watched the first Twilight movie with some of my friends, and then I was looking at the first Twilight book and Midnight Sun to figure out the inconsistencies between the movie and the books, and then I ended up reading all of them. Well, I didn't read all of them. I skimmed most of them and skipped the parts I didn't like. But this quote is when, I think the first night he stays over and she's asking him about sex. And he goes, "I don't think that I avoided the word sex." In italics. It's in italics. It's also highlighted so I know where it is, but I don't think that I avoided the word sex because she did would be possible for us. Excuse me? Excuse me? Excuse me? This is after he leaves her. And mind you, I was thinking about the timeline of this. They've only known each other, like, I think 6 months. They haven't even known each other a full year. I will say that because she came to the school in January. And then he went away for a week, like right after she came, and then he saved her like a couple weeks later. And then he didn't talk to her for a month. So, and then it was spring break, which was probably late March, early April, because that's when the end of Twilight was. And then prom. Prom was May. That was the end of Twilight, was like prom. So I actually think at that point they'd only been together like, so let's say she came in late January, they ignored her the whole month of February and some March. They date for a little bit, he starts talking to her again. By the end of Twilight, they've only been together 3 months. If that. That's like an overestimation. And then by the time he leaves her in New Moon, which is like September, that's in the 7th month that they were together. If that, because I don't know if they got together in March or April or like what the exact timeline is. I have no desire to figure that out and waste my mental capacity on that. But they weren't even together for 7 months. This is how Charlie describes her depressive episode to Alice after Alice comes back after seeing certain things in her visions. I'm not seeing certain things, because you know. Alice, and it frightens me. Not normal at all. Not like someone left her, but like someone had died. His voice cracked. It was like someone had died. Like I had died. Italicized again. Because it had been more than just losing the truest of true loves. As if that were not enough to kill anyone. It was also losing a whole future, a whole family, the whole life I'd chosen. ... Oh, I had to put it down and take a break when I read that line, because what are you doing? Basing your entire world on him. And also, why is already at that point your entire world based on him and his family? It makes no sense. It doesn't make sense. She had other friends. I don't get it. And like, she had died? What? Oh, here's another cursing one, but this time it's Jacob. This one is described as profanities, which is slightly better, but it goes, Jacob's furious voice was suddenly in my ear, hissing out a stream of profanity. Blah. Jacob's furious voice was suddenly in my ear, hissing out a stream of profanities. I felt vague disapproval. His new friends were clearly a bad influence. This is Bella's inner monologue right here. And we're having her feel... What? Oh, I actually think doing this might actually murder me. Just as much as reading the books did. Well, also, this is a did you know. I read the acknowledgments at the end of New Moon. Did you know that Stephanie Meyer named all of the wolves after her siblings? So this one reads, thanks to all my siblings, Emily, Heidi, Paul, Seth, and Jacob. She named these secondary love interests after one of her siblings. This next one is from, I believe, Eclipse. And this is where Edward is absolutely insisting on getting married. And it's his condition for changing her. First of all, what? And like, he's supposed to be old-fashioned, whatever. But you would think that as the times change, you understand that the times are changing. And the fact that she agreed, like, she had all these like valid reservations. And he just like manipulates her into saying yes because she wants to have sex. What? Anyway, this quote is, Edward had promised me that he would change me himself whenever I wanted, just as long as I was married to him first. Again, with the italicized words. That one was frustrating. Like, yes, you have so many reservations. I get it. But yeah, then you say yes. This one was funny because it was, what's the word? Ironic. It was ironic because this is Jacob talking to Bella, and it goes, he made a noise in the back of his throat. Is he your warden now too? You know, I saw this story on the news last week about controlling abusive teenage relationships, and then Bella cuts him off, and I had to laugh because it's so true. That's all for quotes. I have read Breaking Dawn, not as many quotes, just a few points. Point number 1. So you expect me to believe that vampires don't have blood, they don't have a beating heart, they are solid stone pretty much. They don't pee, they don't eat, they don't have any of like the normal human juices, like no digestive juices, but somehow they have viable in order to get her pregnant? What? That makes absolutely no sense when you take it in comparison with all of the other facts that you have already presented us. This is ridiculous to me, that the fact that this even was even possible to exist. These vampires, they don't eat, they don't have saliva, like all they have is their venom. That's it. Like even their eye juices, we're told is venom. And yet somehow they can get somebody else pregnant. But only men. Men can get female humans pregnant. Female vampires can't get pregnant. So if anyone has any ideas on that, let me know, because I am just perplexed and just appalled, honestly. Like, that's something you expect me to believe? Okay, now on to point number 2. My second point is the names. Like, nobody talked her out of those names? Renesmee? And then you combine Carlisle and Charlie and get Carly. Yeah, no shit, you could spell Carly that way. But Renesmee? Maybe flip them. Make it Carly Renesmee if you want that bad. There was no better combination you could come up with? Seriously? Tune in eventually for the next Quotes with Claudia. That is all for this episode of Quotes with Claudia. I can't even say my own name. That is all for this episode of Quotes with Claudia, the Twilight version. And let me know if there's any books you think I should read with funny, cringeworthy, cute. This one didn't have any cute quotes, but any kind of quotes that would be interesting for this. I hope you enjoyed Quotes with Claudia. I will see you eventually.